Welcome to House Cultures Conversations. So good to see everybody. We have Jon Davis Jr. with us tonight. John D, what's going on?
What's up, my man? How you doing, D-Lock? What's good with you?
Hey, everything is fantastic. Trust you are doing well. How is everything?
Man, I cannot complain, man. It's the holidays, it's the time of giving, so been doing a lot of fundraising for some for good causes this month. So that always makes me feel good. Using this music to make others' lives better is always one of my driven motives.
Yes, and that is something I know you are committed to, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let the folks know a little bit about you, where you're from, where you grew up.
So I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised South Side, and like a lot of us, we were poor. So I'm not gonna give you all the addresses, but I had about 10 different addresses growing up. That's just the nature back in that time when you was poor. I started out on 32nd by Comiskey Park, and I ended out on 127th. So I lived all over the south side of the city. I came to Peoria in '87 to go to school. When I graduated, I wound up getting a job, and the job I loved, I was a fireman, so I wound up staying here.
Now, when you were growing up in the city, was music a part of your life?
So, like a lot of us, during that time, you had to do your chores on the weekend. So to get my chores done, it was always music in the house. So, my parents, like a lot of us, listened to, old soulful stuff. My father was a blues guy, so there was a lot of blues and jazz in the house. The usual BB King, Kenny Burrell, Wes Montgomery. My mom was more of a soulful, so that was the Dionne Warwick, the Temptations, and those type of things. So, as far as that, well, we did have music around the house.
Now, when did you get into music, and when did you start with, well, which came first, house or DJ?
House came first. And like probably a lot of us during that time, they used to have a show on Friday nights called a Hot Mix 5. You know about that. It was, Kenny Jam and Jason, I think Mickey Mix and Oliver, Julian Perez, Farley, Jack Massafunk, which is a popular name, and Scott Smoking Seals. So I remember I tuned in on BMX one day, and it was WBMX, and this Friday night, at that time, being up to 10 o'clock at night was still a little faux pas. The mixes didn't come on at 9 or 10, so, I was kind of sneaking. But when I heard this music, man, I was just enthralled. And at the time, it was really spreading across the city quickly. So that was my first introduction to just basic mainstream house was Friday night mixes on WBMX. And that's kind of what got me into it. And then in my neighborhood, none of us had an odd story. It was a guy in the neighborhood. He was like really the neighborhood gangster. He really was. He was the neighborhood gangbanger. But he really loved house music. So my first induction to kind of trying to mix is he had two stereos. That's what we had. And we'd buy records and we'd turn the volume up on one and turn the volume down the other. And that was our introduction to how to mix. So, imagine these old hi-fi stereos. And, we really don't know anything about pitch control. We trying to slow it down with our hand and turn the volume up and and that was really my first introduction, but we were enthralled in it.
Well, hey, the house is starting to fill up with the fam. Let's say hello to Travel Jones, Rick, aka Yuri K,
Yuri K, what's good?
DBL. Good to see you guys. Thanks for vibing with us. Breeze, DBL, how was that birthday? Trust it was well and you enjoyed yourself. Good to see you guys. Mendel Monarchs for sure in the building.
Woo, so Mendel, I had some fun times there.
Yeah, so that's exactly where I was going next. So you came up in the day when this thing was taking off and it was moving to the south side from the warehouse, right? We've got the private clubs that kind of brought it in to the city, but then it started spreading to the Catholic schools, public schools, the high schools on the south side. And then it just started, being all kinds of places where we could hang out and enjoy a house. How did you find your way through that web?
So I was one of the guys that, I went to the music box. I went to the warehouse. I went to the power plant. I went to those original places. I was a young guy, a buddy of mine named Todd Lindbergh, who kind of was a party guy. We were about the same age. We've been friends ever since. He went to Kenwood and he went to the music box. First time he went. And, at that time, I didn't really know anything about music like that. And he came in like, man, you got to go with us. Now, we young. We 13, 12 years old, 14. But we snuck out, and I went out to I remember first time going to the old power plant, in the old warehouse down up on the Lower Record Drive. And I remember, if those of you who went in there, before you could come to the street, it was like the doors were closed, and all you heard was the bass thumping. And before that time, I'd never heard anything like. But when they opened the doors to let you in, it really isn't anything you could describe being in that environment, caught up in the music, the sound. I never forget, that was the first time I heard Frankie Knuckles spin. And that's really when I took off. The hot mix was my, original thing. But when I started going to the clubs, and I started off there, and then after that, it was everywhere. It was Sawyer's, it was AK's, it was Mendel's, it was, the Bismarck, it was, Coconuts, it was Red Dogs. It was pretty much, I was a party gas. I was sneaking out, but really my partying was the love of the music. So at that time, I wasn't quite DJing yet. I messed around with my friend a little bit, but I had some buddies who I was going to Whitney Young for a little bit, and I had some buddies, and he had his first set of turntables was SLB 100s. Those of us that started back in the day, not even direct drive, they were direct, not even belt driven. So, we were trying to learn on that. And over the years, I met a lot of people, they probably remember me. I remember meeting Steve Hurley early. He had made a song for a friend of mine named Mark Williams. So I met some of these people along the way, and I was kind of starting to learn, and I had the bug for it. But really going through high school, I really was into the house music itself. The DJing part was a small part, but it wasn't very big yet.
I want to park there for a second, because a couple of things you said. One, you moved around the city a lot from house to house, and as you were growing up, and you went to a few different high schools. Before I continue, DJ Chill, what's happening? Thanks for vibing with us.
What's up, Chill in the house? We all we got.
And Breezy
in there, my guy.
Yes. It's so good to see you guys vibe with us as we hang out with Jon Davis Jr. But tell us, Luke, where'd you go to high school? I know you went to a couple of them, and talk about the house scene at those high schools.
So, because I wasn't the best of kids, I was kind of an okay, smart kid, but I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really handling my business. So I went to Whitney Young for a couple of years, left, came back and went to Whitney Young for another 2 years, then left and wound up going to Hearst. So I was at Whitney Young and Hearst for my 2 high school years. And really, my venture into DJing part started when I got to Whitney Young. Because Whitney Young, it wasn't a party school, but at the time, house was really taking off. It was really taking off. Whitney Young was an eclectic mix of people. It was on the near west side, so you got the north side people. So that's when it really started taking off. And I started meeting some people, a few people I met during those times. Like I said, I met Steve Hurley. I met Andre Hatchett back then. I met some other people who were coming up during that time. And they were just names getting going. Ferris Thomas at the time, he was trying to DJ a little bit. And some other guys, Lil Jon. I met a lot of people. And that's when I was really into the music part, and my love for DJing kind of started transcending. I met a guy named Patrick Williams who went to Whitney Young, and that was the first time he took me to a record store. And for those of us who were in the culture back then, the record store was a whole different culture. It was like your shopping. It was like, it really wasn't about the party anymore. It was about going to find records. So those of us that knew Dr. Wax, Gramophone, Loop Records, those were kind of my main 3 spots that I went to. And it was really about record stores. And we would literally spend hours upon hours in the store trying to find one record. And if you found it, it was like, man, like it was a real culture. And I try to, people don't know when I talk about the culture, that was a real culture. Finding hidden gems at a record store, literally hours upon hours. And I look back on it many years later in life, and really kind of kept me out of trouble, because I didn't really run the streets or nothing, but I was in some record stores, man. I'm talking, that was my weekend. We wake up in the morning, I finished my chores. I didn't have hardly no money. Your buddy, you gave your money up, and we would go to some stores, and it was just like, it was crazy. So it really, really, really was something that it was really something that I really, really, really enjoyed and got off into. And that's when my love for DJing started transcending a little bit. I didn't quite know how to DJ yet, but I had started amassing these records. I started collecting at this point, because the people I hung around with, that's what they did. So I was a guy who was a DJ who had crates of records and no equipment.
Hey,
Crates of records, no
Cabasso.
equipment.
Cabasso LV in the building. Good to see you. Thanks for
Cabasso, what's
vibing
good? How
with
you
us.
feeling, brother?
We are getting the skinny from none other than Jon Davis Jr. Thank you guys so much for vibing with us on House Culture Conversations. Why do you think this thing has been just standing the test of time? House music continues to thrive, get expanded in so many different genres, but still keeping its identity. Why do you think that is?
I've always thought, always said this to myself, is at its core, and I believe this, soul music drives all music. It doesn't matter, no matter how far you go back. I believe soul music has always been driven by, no matter rock, classic, whatever it is, soul music has always been the driving force. And if you, no matter how far back you go, it's always been driven by the bass. If you go back to our African tribes, you know, all those things, you can hear an African song right now. You may not know nothing that they're saying, but the rhythm is what moves you. And I believe the rhythm moves people around the world. It's one of the few things, and I tell people this all the time, until you go to like a, not just regular, even listen to music, but if you go to a party, a house party that's really banging in the DJ, the emotional highs and lows the music takes you on is really something that it's hard to, you know, span in any other genre of things that we're doing. And because of that, and that driving bass, I think it'll never die. It may transform. It may, you know, go a little bit, be a little popular up and down, but the core is going to always be soul music, and it's going to always be bass, and it's going to always have emotions tied. And I personally think that's how it's been able to stand the test of time. Once I really got serious about DJing, I had a conversation once, and he doesn't even remember this, but I met Andre Hatchett, and we were talking about things. And even people who ask me now, and people who know me and know about my DJing, one of the things he told me is that whenever you're DJing, you have to tell a story. Your music tells a story. Whatever set you playing, tell a story. And so when I play, I'm always in my mind, that's how I feel. And so I think there's so many stories to be told. The music is gonna last forever. It'll outlast all of us. It'll, you know, the era I have now, I grew up starting in disco and underground, and the era I have now for music is way different. But the stories I have to tell are, you know, numerous. And I think that's what this music does.
Yeah, and you know, as we talk about the culture and the evolution of the culture, I want to talk about that next, what I call the migrations of house. The first migration is when it went from the warehouse to a lot of the schools and really branched out in the city of Chicago. But as we began to graduate from high school, many of us grabbed some turntables, took our crates, grabbed some tapes, some 8 cassette tapes and hot mix tapes, and I took them off to college. And that to me was the next major migration. And you were a big part of that because you went down to Peoria and went to Bradley. And I know you got countless stories. Talk about that.
Yeah, so when I graduated, I went to Bradley, went to college, and the short version is, like a lot of us during that time, it turned out one of my friends, he happened to be turned out to be the DJ because he had all the equipment. He had his own speakers, turntables. You know, none of us had it at the time. So he was the DJ. And at that time, it was so much equipment you needed a crew. So me and a couple, we were kind of part of his crew. But during this time, I was really starting to grow. His name is Steve Davis. And what Steve was he was a real technician. He was a count the beats. I'm blending on 16. I'm blending on 32. And before that, I was learning how to blend, but it was all by feel. I really wasn't a technician yet. So I kind of honed my skills on that kind of coming up. I had a ton of records, but I didn't really have the equipment. So I was just using his stuff as we were going along the way. And kind of what really transcended for me was they had a DJ event at our school, a contest. Now, you got to remember, I don't have no equipment, but I got records. So I asked my guy, I got into the contest, and I asked my guy, I said, hey, man, can I DJ your stuff? Now, he's in the contest. He allowed me to get into the contest, and my first real transcendent was, at this time, I was just starting to transition out of disco. You know, that's when the newer sounds were really just starting, you know, listening to different artists. Louis Vega was just, you know, they were just starting to get going. Peter Penny, it was a lot of people back there, David Morales. They were really just starting their transition into this newer sound that was some disco, but had more musical tones to it. And I was really, my ear was transitioning that way. So I went to this contest and I wound up winning the contest on his equipment. After that, he kind of started letting me do DJ all the parties. And some of it was he kind of started, he kind of doing it for a while and he was getting burnt out. But I really was starting to transcend off then. I had started, my record collection had become massive by that time. I had started meeting people. I started coming back. I started doing more parties. I started getting called to do parties all over Illinois. I was traveling back to Chicago. So those last 2-3 years of college, I was really in the culture. Every weekend, I was somewhere spinning.
Yes, yes. And do you think, the fact that you were in college and you began to, spread this music led to the next migration where it's now gone everywhere around the world?
Oh, definitely. You get to the point where I'm just one person who was traveling around Illinois. But at that time, the other thing that happened, and you would notice, almost all artists of some sort and soul would go overseas. And so one of the things that was happening was, as DJing was the popularity, the disco, all that was starting to go down a little bit, a lot of those DJs started going overseas. And they were big overseas, so the sound kept growing. Chicago is a hardcore, we're underground. So the underground was going to live forever. We were going to carry what we did. But once they went overseas, it started growing again. And that was kind of the next migration. So, and it wasn't even us. That's when you started having guys like David Guetta and all these other names started coming up, guys who started transcending, and you started having the big rave parties, which all started from house music. Those of us that know all of those DJs, all that started from house music. It's just a bigger house music platform. And when they started doing that, unknowingly to a lot of people, that carried the music to even bigger masses. Now the sound was changing. So now the sound is changing. We're reaching a different group. We're reaching different masses. The music is just getting around it. They're calling it different things. Now it's techno. Now it's rave music. Now it's other things. But at its core, it's all house music.
There it is. There it is. It's the Candy Lady. How you doing?
It's the Candy Lady. How you doing? How you doing?
DJ Classic 757 in the building.
Hey.
You're hanging out with us on House Culture Conversations, and we are getting the tea with Jon Davis Jr. He has been definitely shedding some insight on the migration of house music that spread from Chicago all across the city, then taken to college campuses and then beyond. Now we've come out of COVID and we have this thing called Twitch. What's your perspective on the streaming platforms and how it's enhanced the culture?
Personally, for me, I love it because it's a way I got to meet DJ D Lotto. It's the Candy Lady, or Cabasso, or DJ Lazy E, or Drusser. I have people I've met that are all around the world that I were able to meet in an instant. That I'm realistically, I would have never met them. I had to be honest. I kind of really got back into the DJing thing because of my girl DJ Chill. She had called me a few years. This was the pandemic, just asking me some DJ questions, and I, giving her some stuff, information that I had, and I didn't know she DJ'd. She just kind of called me, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you DJ'd. I've come to find out that she was very serious about her craft. So the stuff, I didn't talk to her for a little bit, and then I heard her DJ a set. Somebody told me about Twitch, so I tuned in and I heard her DJ a set, and it was phenomenal. And from that space, I was like, and at this time, the pandemic was just kind of ending. I had always still loved DJing, but I'd given it up for many years. I got married, I had a family, got kids, my life changed. So I always had my stuff, but it was at my boy's house. So I wasn't even DJing, but I always listened to house music. So when I heard Chill, I kind of talked to her and I called her, and she gave us and I saw how she interacted and I loved it. And the other guy who really pushed me out there was Yuri K. He lives right in Springfield, and him and my guy Keith Mack were good friends, and we were kind of listening to them. And by this time, we had our own little group, and he was like, yeah, you should be streaming. And I was like, huh? Man, I'm kind of scared. I don't know. But Yuri really just pushed me on out there. It kind of got me set up, helped me set up a channel, and really pushed me out. So with him and DJ Chill, between the two of them, they really pushed me out into this Twitch space, and it has really opened up doors galore for someone like me who's been DJing for a long time, but stepped away and really had no platform to kind of get back in. And now, I'm able to meet a lot of people, and people are able to hear me play, and from all sorts of walks of life. And I truly love it, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. You just want people to hear your story and hear your sound.
That's it. That's it. Hey, Dreammaker Diva is in the building.
Hey, you know what it is, Tuesday. You better don't be half-stepping. We ready for you.
Jon Davis Jr. is talking about Tuesday is Dreammaker Diva's birthday, and she has been, as it relates to Twitch, she has been amazing and connecting communities and connecting the various DJs and moderators, and so we're going to celebrate that birthday Sagittarius Day on I guess it's Sagittarius month, actually. I guess we'll give you a month, but we're going to celebrate Dreammaker Diva's birthday. All the Sagittarius people, come on out, and we're going to party hard on the Fam Tram Express. Twitch.tv/Jon Davis Jr., Twitch.tv/DJ Paco D, Twitch.tv/DJ D Lot, and bringing it on home is Twitch.tv/KSIV Studio. So it's going to be an amazing time on Tuesday. So come on out. If you haven't, we'd love to have you. So talk about, now you don't roll alone. One thing I love about you, you always have mad respect for your crew. And so you were down there spinning in Peoria, but you kind of formed a bond with some people down there. Talk a little bit about your crew.
So, part of a group of guys called the Pit Crew DJs. And the truth is, they kind of sought me out, and not in a conceited way, but, a guy named Big Frank, he's from Peoria, and he had went to Chosen Few picnic and fell in love. And so, but some time went by, some other stuff. So he was kind of like, Frank's a visionary. So he's like, man, we can have our own Chosen Few here. And I was, so he kind of tried to pursue me for a while. But, I kind of was like, I don't know. I mean, I've been Peoria. I had never even heard anybody else play house music in Peoria. Funny story, me and Mac both have been in the same circles. I was a fireman. He was a policeman. I had seen him for 25, 20. Neither one of us knew each other DJ. But anyway, Frank got us all together and for this picnic. And we kind of came together, and the picnic kind of turned out to be pretty popular. So we called ourselves the Pit Crew DJs, because he's a trainer, and he has a place called the Gorilla Pit. He's Frank, big, strong dude. So there's a place called the Gorilla Pit. So we called ourselves the Pit Crew DJs. And it's me, Big Frank, Keith McDaniels, M. Breezy, and Tony Cummins, and a few other people in and out. And then from that, we were able to meet a lot of people. My man Yuri K kind of got us together, and we kind of started saying we all we got. My man Yuri that was his thing. So me, Breezy, Mac, Yuri, our little clique with Midas Retouch, who's phenomenal as well. We got DJ Chill, she kind of rolling with us. A lot of times we throw in stuff we don't tell her. We just throw her in like, yeah, she with us. Because she's our name, so we hope she don't get mad at us. But, she's a beautiful soul and beautiful spirit. I know you interviewed anybody who knows and listens to her. She's just a beautiful spirit. So we really try to do it. But what we really try to do is make this culture here and grow it some in Central Illinois. Everybody's in Chicago. We know that. The places that you go. And so we're trying to get some people to come out. We got some people out here that can really play some music, that run their tunes. So, we go with, we try to go anywhere, we do anything. And it's not just up, we got some other guys we deal with. Willpower in St. Louis is a good guy. My man, DJ Philo, who's down south, John Cobb. So we got some guys that we're dealing with in the Midwest from all over, and just trying to, more of the little unknown people. We don't know nobody, but we love the music and we like to play. And so we definitely try to get our name out there, but really just try to get the culture going.
Hey, Philip the Haitian sliding on in here. Good to see you.
What's up, brother?
Yes. Oh, the fam's all in here supporting you. So tell us, what do you got coming up? I know you have been doing a lot of charity work. Talk a little bit about that and what else you got coming up.
So real quick, about a year or two ago, me and my man Keith Mack, and it really was that he came up with an idea called the Peoria House Music Peace Project. So much violence in the world, so we really wanted to start playing some different type of music to kind of make a different narrative. So Mac has set up some stuff. We had about 6 stops that we played throughout the city where it was safe zones. We played house music. There was a police presence. We gave away gifts and stuff like that. We worked with a councilwoman to do a toy drive. It's a couple of other initiatives I'm doing. And I'm always generally trying to play this house music, one, to give them a different sound, something they can listen to and vibe to, but really just trying to play to our community, because if you want to see the change, you got to be the change. And I'm a thorough believer in that. Upcoming, we got coming up next month, 1/25/24, the We All We Got crew, Yuri K, Keith Mack, myself, and DJ Chill. We're going to be a cinema session. So, you know, the crew from the Midwest, we're going to be up there. We're going to be on Twitch TV. We're going to be up there. And we're also making a Twitch celebration. So the slow version is, if you're on Twitch and you're in Chicago, come out. We're going to give you a card, put your Twitter name on there so everybody can meet each other. And then we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to give away some gift cards to everybody come. We're also going to give a couple of gift cards away out in the Twitch universe as well. Then after that, we're looking next year for the picnic again. And there's going to be another event coming next year that we don't want to put it out there yet, but we got another event coming next year. And I'll be in and out of the city and some other places trying to play this music anywhere they'll have me.
I love it. Where do you see this thing going? This thing called house. What's the next frontier of this thing?
Personally, I think we're in a transition now where house is becoming so much more popular again, quote unquote, because now we got some of the more popular mainstream artists. Beyonce came with the album. Now it's house. Drake came with the album last year. Terry Hunt is doing a phenomenal job. And there's a lot of other DJs and remixes out there, but Terry's doing a phenomenal job. He's up for a Grammy again for something with Mariah Carey. So I see this house thing transitioning back up again. As we come out the pandemic, places are opening up more and more and more. People kind of want to get out. But I do believe this Twitch thing is here to stay. I'm trust me, you know this, D-Lot. I'm out here. I'm on a lot of Twitch streams, and there's a lot of people that just want to stay in their house and listen to great music. And I think that's a great thing. I love to go out, but at this age, it don't bother me to stay home and listen to some music. You know, I ain't got to drive home. These knees be hurting. So, I just think the growth of both, I think Twitch has helped the house music grow. And I think the resurgence of it has branched out and brought even more artists out, more music, more musical stuff. It's so much, as you know, it's so much music out there that nobody's ever heard. And so I just think it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger. I think for the next 20, 30 years, in 10 years, we're going to be at a space almost as popular as we was back in the early 2000s, maybe about the 1990s, 1980s when house was big. I believe that personally, because it's not going to transcend down. It's just going to transcend back up. It's just a slow trend. So it's just growing, man. And as long as I can play, I'm going to be a part of it.
That's it. Hey, well, I appreciate you so much for giving us a little bit of a window into the man behind the music. This has been amazing, fantastic. Dreammaker Diva said Machine JT and K-Civ Studio is out there. Where are we taking these folks to party?
Hey, it's hard not to go to my man K-Civ Studio. That's our guy. It's hard not to go to the Mad Professor.
All right. Well, hey, let's do that. Anyone have any questions for Jon Davis Jr.?
Let me know. I can't see him, so if they got him, then let me know.
Yeah, they're coming in. They're talking about them knees. They're talking about everything else. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to take you guys to K-Civ Studio.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you.
That's it. And we'll see everybody else next time.
All right. Now, have a good one now. Be safe, everybody.
Sit tight. It's counting down.
All right.
I'll let you know when they're gone. They are gone.
All right.
So everyone else, we will see you real soon. Jon Davis Jr., sit tight.